Alright guys, so here's what's happening. Basically yesterday I thought it would be a good idea to take apart my Bafang motor and try and basically put another controller in there. Motor's coming out. Right, this is how it's rolling right now. Just taking the entire thing apart. So that's the kind of low power board, and then you've got the high power board underneath. Basically this is quite good actually. These are just screwed on. The phase wires are actually just screwed on here. So remember the way they go, just in case I ever need to put it back. Final control board does come out. I'm gonna lose all the screws. This didn't really go to plan, because once I'd taken it all apart I realised quickly that this particular motor hasn't actually got any hall sensors in it. So for those of you who know about this stuff, you'll know what hall sensors are. For those of you who don't, I'll try and explain quickly. Basically, hall sensors are inside every motor, most e-bike motor anyway, which basically tell the controller the rotation of the motor. So it's a way of the motor basically feeding back information to the controller to tell it, you know, what to do and how to adjust its current and everything like that. Now this is a bit of a pain, because the controller I've got knocking around here, which I wanted to put in there, is an Adapto controller, and that needs hall sensors. It doesn't exclusively need hall sensors because it has a sensorless mode, but apparently it's a bit rough in it. Anyway, basically I thought I'm going to abort this mission and I'm going to look into this a bit further, so I'm going to put the motor back together. So put it all back together, fired it up, and it doesn't work. So we're getting a hall sensor error. So this particular motor, the way they handle hall sensors, so it does have a hall sensor setup, but it's completely different to anything that's normally in an e-bike motor, like a hub motor or something. It has a little magnet on the top of the drive rotor, or the drive shaft from the motor, and beyond the main control board, there's a little IC, which basically is a hall sensor, and the magnet comes very close to that little hall sensor, and as it spins round, I don't know how they do this, but it's very clever, and that's how it works. So I don't know what's happened. Somewhere in the process of taking this motor and putting it back together, I'm now getting a hall sensor error on the controller. So now I'm a bit annoyed because I've basically broken this motor and I can't see any way of putting a new controller in there that isn't the existing one, and I don't know if the existing one's broken or what's going to happen. So I've already taken it apart like 3 times and just kind of put it back together in different ways. I haven't gone as far as taking all the boards out again. I think that's what I'm going to do now to see if I can actually fix this and get it up and running again. Now the earlier versions of this Bafang Ultra motor actually have hall sensors inside the motor itself, and they had like basically an unused connector. So it's like they changed the design halfway through. They decided that, you know, they wanted to go this new way with having a magnet and, you know, having an onboard hall sensor. Very simple. It looks good. Like the way it works is it looks good. Now, seeing as I'm pretty careful when I take things apart and put them back together again, and I've been doing electronics for years, I can't see that I've broken anything, but it just might be that this is really delicate, and I don't know. So if this was one of the earlier versions of the motor, then it would have had the hall sensors, and I would have been able to just plug in any controller and set it up. Like some people have put on the phase runner from Grin. Other people have tried Adaptos, other people have just tried different controllers, and they will work because it's basically just the same as any other motor really. But this particular one doesn't have any standard hall sensors, so what are you going to do? Everything's in pieces. I just want to get this thing back together really. So I'm going to take it apart again. Right, so here's what I'm talking about. See, there's no hall sensor wires. These sensors for the pedal assist and the torque control and all of that sort of stuff. And these two here are for the temperature. Now this hole here, in other pictures I've seen, there's a connector coming out of here with all the hall sensors on, and obviously that makes sense because, you know, you can see the motor windings there. Now what this one has is a magnet on the top of here. See the magnet on the top of that right there, which you can see how it would work, because these magnets only stick to one side of it, so as it's going around I guess it just creates a sort of pulse, which is kind of cool, and that pulse gets measured by that tiny little IC in there, you can see. So that's basically a hall sensor on a chip, and when this motor is back together, this goes into that hole, and then obviously that's how it works. Now I don't know if there's something wrong with these connectors or something. I'm just gonna have to keep fiddling around, guys, and just see if I can get this going again, because it's just blooming weird that it's just stopped working. So put it all back together, still got the error. Ah, man. Any ideas, anyone? Right, so I'm just testing controller board now. I've just taken everything apart. It seems to make no difference if anything's connected or not. So basically, if you just try and fire up the controller, you see, if you can see this little red flashing light here. I'm not sure what that actually means, but when it's on, it's still doing this. So it can't be any of the other connectors causing the problem, like the pedal assist connector or something like that. It seems to be just this board on its own is just flagging an error, whether it's connected to anything or not. Right guys, well, if all else fails, just try and I'm trying this in sensorless mode. So I've just ripped the other controller out, put the adapter on here. I've just got the 3 phase wires connected on here, and then I've fired this up in sensorless mode. Got my throttle control here, and it's doing something. Right, to be continued. I need to go out, but it looks like this is going to have to be the solution for now. I'm going to get this controller rigged up properly, get the wiring sorted out, and then we can see if we can actually make this work. It's going to need some tuning. I'm not exactly sure how to do that yet. Night has fallen, I'm back in here. So I'm going to extend these phase wires so I can actually get these wires outside of this motor, and then I can actually put this motor back on the bike, and then we can start playing around with it. So I think I'm going to use this controller. I've been looking up some different controllers, and it looks like the Grim one can actually run sensorless. So that is ultimately going to be my plan. This adapter, I'm not sure if it's actually working correctly, but I'm gonna have a go. I'm gonna play around with that and see if I can get this to work. But anyway, I'm just extending these phase wires. Gonna get that done, and then I'm just gonna extend this solder on the temperature sensor, and that's it. Basically, that is it. Everything else, it's just a motor. So all these wires are going to run out of a little hole there. I've taken the controller out of here now, put this, you know, this plastic kind of setup here which holds all the gears and stuff in place. That will just fold back on here, and then I'll end up with a motor with 3 phase wires hanging out of it and a temperature sensor, which is going to be super simple to just connect up to that. Using nice fat copper wire for the phase connectors, for the phase wires should I say. Get them on there. And I'll just do my usual trick of just pushing the wire into the other side, giving it a little twist around. God, the planes are noisy tonight. Give it a little twist around. Don't know if you can see this where the camera is, but and then you can just solder it. And then I'll heat shrink over the top of this after, just to seal it all up. So yeah, I mean it seems to, I've been playing around with it a little bit before I turn the camera on. It does seem to spin up okay. It doesn't seem to have a problem starting, which is what a lot of the problems with you know, kind of sensorless setups. This cup of tea is going to go over in a minute. Right, so let's get some heat shrink over these. Got something going on tomorrow night. I want to try and get this done and get it a bit more tidy in here, because I need to get some music gear out of here for like a little party we're going to have. So I want to get this bike back together really before we do anything else. Right, it's all done. Temperature wires, phase wires. I'm going to stick the top back on now, put the cover back on, and we're good to go pretty much. And it's all back together. Phase wires, temperature wires. It's a lovely morning, back in here early, trying to get this sorted out. Temporary solutions, guys. Full throttle going on there. Right, it's a couple of days later now. It's now Monday after the weekend. I can't get this adapter to work properly with this this Bafang motor. It is just not working. I think there seems to be this problem with sensorless mode on this controller. Doing a lot of reading over the weekend and stuff, it seems to be there's an issue with sensorless mode on this motor. It will auto detect KV, and it will auto detect the resistance of the motor, and you can tweak all the other settings, and you get it to basically a point where it, you know, it pulls away and accelerates. It sounds a little bit kind of on the noisy side, but it does work. And then it just gets to a certain RPM, and then it just cuts, and then it just loses sync with the motor. So I don't know if there's some magic combination of settings that makes this work. I haven't been able to find it yet, and there's a lot of settings in this adapter. Like there's a lot of settings. It's quite cool how it automatically senses, you know, the KV and the resistance of the motor and stuff. So it does get the basic settings right just by turning up the throttle. Other things like the timing and stuff, a lot of the settings are actually related to Hall sensors, and of course you haven't got Hall sensors, so I just don't think this controller is actually you know, that great for sensorless operation. I think it works. You know, it will get you home if your Hall sensors break, but yeah, it's just not really working out. Anyway, let's take it out of the road. I'll show you what I mean. So to turn it on, you're turning on the battery on the side, and then after a little while this comes up. This is what I used to have on the big bike, but it turned out to not be a very reliable solution, this Dapto. So you can see there on the screen, Hall's error. So you can't flick your profiles when that says Hall's error, even though there's no Halls because it's in sensorless mode. So that's another stupid thing. Right, so I've got my full throttle on here. The full twist throttle, domino throttle is lovely. Anyway, so I'm going to try and pull away, and I'll show you what actually happens. So you pull away, and it's actually quite smooth. Like, that's really good for sensorless operation. And then you get a nice whack of torque about there, and then basically the motor is just going into some weird kind of, I'll see if I can show you it a bit clearer. So like, I'm going to pull away quite hard. Whoa, see that? See, it's like, I mean, you get the feeling of quite a nice bump of torque there, but it just won't kind of lock onto the motor properly. It just literally just cuts. I'll try and show you again. So let's just pull away quite hard. There you go, see? And then it's kind of just going into a weird thing where the RPM actually slows down. So I'm not really sure what that problem is. Weird thing is, when you actually lift up the back wheel, I don't think I'll be able to do this holding the camera. I'll lift it up and then I'll show you the back wheel. See, sometimes it actually spins that back wheel up fine and you get a really high RPM, but you can't seem to do it, can't do it under load. It's going to throw me off. Yeah, I mean, it's pulling like 30, 40 amps when it's pulling away, and the phase current is up quite high. So yeah, it's a blooming weird one. I don't know, I don't think there's a solution to this. I've been trying all weekend. So yeah, this solution isn't going to work either. So we're back to the drawing board on that. I reckon that if we had a Bafang that had the Hall sensors, it would definitely work, and that would produce quite a bit of power. You know, the Adaptos are quite good controllers, but they do fail, so it wouldn't be a long-term solution anyway. So you know, we do all the Grim products in the store, like the satiator, the cycle satiator charger, and the cycle analyst, all that sort of stuff. Where is it? This great bit of kit here. So they also do a controller called the Phase Runner, which looks really good. I've not actually tried one yet, and that's what I'm going to do with this bike, because I think that is going to be the only solution. I've been speaking to them over the weekend about it, and it will run in sensorless mode properly, so you shouldn't have any of these issues. It should pull away quite well. You know, with sensorless, you're always going to have the issue right at the beginning when it starts, because it has to work out where the position of the motor is, because there's no Hall sensor, so it has to work that out. So maybe you might need to just kind of get the bike going slightly, or pedal, but I don't know. We'll have to sort of cross that bridge when it comes to it, but it will handle all the other things, because it works with the cycle analyst. It will handle pedal assist, you know, torque control, all of that sort of stuff. So I think that is going to be the route to go, and it is very, very compact controller. Like, it's literally 10 centimeters long, so it'll probably fit nicely in this section down here, which will be good. So it also handles up to 90 volts as well, which is just crazy. So we're going to hopefully try 72 volts on it at a later point as well. So there's lots of things to try with that, and I think you can probably push it to about 3000 watts, something like that, which on a geared Bafang motor like this, I think will be pretty insane. So that's what I'm going to do. We should have one of those here in a few days. I've got the cycle analyst out, ready to go. I did actually hack a load of wires off of this one, so I'm going to have to rewire up some stuff on here, put the throttle control. So the throttle goes into this, and then this basically handles everything. The connector on the actual Phase Runner is the opposite end to this one here. So the controller sends all the information, voltage, speed, you know, your current and your everything from the shunt in there. So the readout on here will be way better than the Bafang displays, because this thing's just so much more accurate, and it actually gives you proper real milliamp hour or amp hour readings, and watt hour per kilometre, all that sort of stuff. So it's really good. I mean, no, it's not as attractive as the Bafang screen and everything like that, but I'm not really too bothered, because this has got more features and settings than you're ever going to need, and it's going to actually allow you to configure that bike and get it dialed in to exactly the way you want it. So I'd always recommend cycle analysts over all the other stuff that comes out of China, because of those reasons, really. What would be good is if they can improve the aesthetics of that cycle analyst, because I think if they did that, it would give it a new, it'd definitely give it a new lease of life as a display, because these Chinese displays are good, but there's limitations to them. So that's it for this one, guys. I'm going to wind this one up now. So this is going to be a to be continued, and hopefully in the next video you're going to see this thing flying down the lanes faster than it did before. That was the original plan. But until then, don't forget to like and subscribe, do all the usual stuff, follow me on Instagram, and I'll catch you later, guys.